There's a difference between attraction and obsession, and there's a moral line between influence and manipulation. Let's be clear from the start. The aim here is never to coerce, trap, or deceive. The aim is to become a woman whose natural presence, embodiment, and clarity create a gravitational pull. Someone who awakens desire through authenticity, energy, and boundaries. That kind of pull is not cheap or manufactured. It's deep, unsettling, irresistible, and completely ethical when both people are consenting adults. Think of obsession not as a pathology, but as intensity. A man who is intensely drawn to you emotionally, physically and psychologically. Why does it happen with some women and not others? Because certain women have learned how to hold paradox, softness and steel, availability and mystery, warmth and autonomy. They don't chase. They are not needy. They are sovereign. And strangely, that freedom is what triggers desire. Carl Jung taught that the human psyche is built from archetypes and projections. Men carry an internal image of the feminine, the anima, that shapes their deepest longings. When a woman embodies elements of that anima in a way that is genuine, she doesn't simply attract admiration. She activates unconscious longing. He begins to feel himself differently around her. He wants more than sex. He wants the sense of aliveness she brings. That's the seed of sexual obsession. So how do you ignite that intensity ethically? Start here. 3 pillars: presence, polarity, and mystery. Presence means your energy is consistent and embodied. It's the quality of being fully in your body and life. Your voice steady, your eyes steady, your time valued, your boundaries intact. Presence isn't performance. It's being at home in yourself. Men who are emotionally scattered feel safety and regulation when a woman is steady. That steadiness doesn't extinguish desire. It intensifies it because it invites him to stop managing and start feeling. Polarity is the energetic contrast between masculine and feminine. Sex drive thrives on contrast, tension and release, giving and withholding, light and shadow. You don't manufacture polarity. You cultivate it by owning your feminine magnetism without trying to take on his role. Let him lead some moments, and let your softness reclaim others. When a man senses polarity, that you are not a mirror of him but a complementary force, he becomes fascinated. He will test and return. He will pursue. Mystery is the refusal to be exhaustively known too soon. In a world of oversharing, the woman who keeps some interior life sacred becomes irresistible. Mystery is not manipulation. It's discretion. It's not broadcasting every thought or need. It's creating a private inner world that he senses but can't fully own. That lack creates imagination, and imagination is sex's fuel. A final opening point: the fastest way to kill desire is to make availability predictable. Obsession thrives on irregular reward and emotional investment. When you are always available, you flatten the arc. So the antidote is not cruelty. It's value. Value your time, your attention, your touch. Give them as gifts, not as defaults. Quick CTA: if this resonates, save this video, because in the next sections I'll show the concrete, ethical behaviors and internal practices that create presence, polarity, and mystery, the same ones psychotherapists and seduction-savvy practitioners note again and again. Stay with me. Body. One does 1,000 words. Psychology, Jung, practical, ethical mechanics. Let's unpack the psychology. First, projection. Jungian projection is when an unconscious content is seen in another person. Men project onto women desires, mother images, rebellion fantasies, anima figures. A woman who unconsciously mirrors a man's anima becomes a living projection for his inner life, not simply a partner, but a stage for his unconscious drama. If you want the pull to be mutual and healthy, you must avoid becoming a projection by remaining whole. The more you are your own person, the less he will project pure fantasy onto you and the more he'll actually fall for you. Technique 1. Internal work, non-negotiable. Embody your life. Work on your emotional regulation, your interests, your friendships, your goals. A woman who is complete without a man gives him permission to desire without expecting completion. Therapy, meditation, movement, and craft refine a magnetic center. That center is more alluring than any trick. Technique 2. Polarity in action. Cultivate soft presence and selective distance. In social interactions, be sensuous in small gestures. Look with attention, speak with warmth. Touch briefly when appropriate. Between those moments, keep your schedule alive. Have evenings that matter to you. Respond with warmth, not immediacy. He'll notice that your attention is earned, not automatic. Technique 3. Emotional high fidelity. Listen deeply, but don't fix. Men feel validated when they can show without being judged. Most women solve problems instinctively. The man you want to intrigue may instead be seeking recognition. Mirror his emotion without collapsing into rescue. Name what you hear. That sounds frustrating. Hold the tenderness without over-dramatizing. That steadiness makes you a safe field for vulnerability, and that safety intensifies longing. Technique 4. Ritualize flirtation. Sexual obsession doesn't come from random flirting. It rises from predictable small rituals that mean something only to the two of you. Use a look, a phrase, a touch, a private joke that becomes a tiny but charged ritual. Ritual builds exclusivity and inside meaning, two powerful drivers of desire. Technique 5. Cultivate sensory memory. Men often become attached to the sensory traces a woman leaves. Perfume, a cadence of speech, a way of laughing. Make yourself memorable sensorially without trying. Choose a signature scent, a style, a way you enter a room. Don't try to be all things. Be a distinctive frequency. Technique 6. Play with absence ethically. Shift from constant contact to meaningful presence. If he texts and you're available 24/7, you become ambient. If you have times you intentionally live offline, he begins to feel the missing. Important caveat: this is not ghosting or emotional torment. It's living your life. Answer his messages thoughtfully, not reflexively. Let your non-availability be filled with your own thriving life. Technique 7. Show sexual confidence, not performance. Sexual obsession springs from someone sensing your sexual autonomy. Express your desires clearly and consentingly. Teach him how you like to be touched. Show willingness when you want to be present. Sexual confidence is declarative, not apologetic. It says, I enjoy my body. You are welcome to share it. That stance is magnetism. Technique 8. Honor consent, boundaries, and ethics. If making a man sexually obsessed sounds like making someone do something against their will, stop. Obsession that's built on coercion or dishonesty is abusive. The techniques above are about up-leveling yourself, your embodiment, your mystery, your emotional sovereignty, so men want you more honestly. Desire that grows with consent and mutuality is healthy. Addiction without consent is abuse. Now the neuroscience, intermittent reinforcement amplifies wanting. The brain's dopamine system rewards unpredictability and novelty. If you are unpredictably generous with your attention and presence, not mean but non-constant, he experiences longing spikes. Combine that with emotional depth and sensory triggers, and you create a pattern where his brain associates you with high reward. But remember, dopamine without oxytocin, bonding through trust, touch, and vulnerability, is empty. So pair novelty with safety to create obsession that is both passionate and connective. CTA. Practice one ritual this week, a signature way you greet him, a sensory detail, or a deliberate evening that's yours. Watch how his attention changes. Report back in comments or notes. Conclusion. 1,000 words. Resolution, ethics, empowerment, CTA. Let's close with the human truth. Desire is not a trophy to win. It's a signal. If a man is sexually obsessed with you, he's not simply valuing your body. He's valuing the energy you carry. That energy should be your own, not borrowed. So rather than trying to make obsession happen like a trick, shift your aim to becoming someone who naturally inspires deep desire, grounded, sovereign, sensuous, and mysterious. First, practice radical self-possession. The foundational source of magnetism is inner freedom. This doesn't mean emotional numbness. It means you can love, desire, rage, grieve, and still remain centered. When a man senses that you won't collapse for him, his protective instinct to possess you becomes something else, a fierce, respectful drive to be near you. That's desire aligned with integrity. Second, prioritize joyful sexuality. Joy trumpets health. If you approach sex as curiosity, play, and mutual exploration, you recalibrate desire away from scarcity into abundance. Men who are truly addicted to you tend to show up wanting to learn more, not conquer. Let your sexual life be a shared field of discovery, not a performance show. Teach him what awakens you. Invite him into reciprocal curiosity. Third, level up sensual living. This is practical. Sleep well, move your body, cultivate style that feels like you, manage stress, and feed your creativity. Sensual living doesn't mean sexualize everything. It means your life is rich with texture and feeling. That texture becomes the context in which desire grows. A woman who smells of self-care, who eats well, who moves joyfully, who has friends and adventures, she is more erotic because she is vibrant. Fourth, invest in emotional reciprocity. Obsession that is purely sexual can hollow out a relationship. If you want him to be sustainably obsessed, in the sense of devoted desire, teach him to adore your whole self, mind, emotions, and limits. Reward emotional honesty. When he takes emotional risks, mirror them with gratitude, not judgment. This deepens oxytocin bonding and transforms fleeting lust into lasting craving. Fifth, be fierce with boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are declarations of taste. They tell a man what you will accept and what you won't. A woman who tolerates disrespect dilutes desire. A woman who demands respect and refuses manipulation heightens it. Men respect women who respect themselves. Sixth, allow transformation. Some men will become obsessed and then fold under the weight of their own shadow. Don't rescue, but do allow growth if he chooses it. Healthy obsession can catalyze therapy, honesty, and maturation. If he begins to show sustained change, emotional work, integrity, reverence, recognize it. Desire can mature into partnership when both people become more conscious. Finally, remember your ethics. Use this knowledge to create mutual enchantment, not bondage. Teach men how to love you by being unambiguous about your wants and limits. If a man's obsession becomes controlling or violates consent, remove yourself. Your power does not mean tolerating harm. You don't have to chase to be irresistible. You have to become the kind of person whose life is so alive that desire becomes inevitable. When you invest in yourself, your presence, your pleasure, your power, men don't just notice. They remember, they seek, they show up. And the most honest, thrilling kind of obsession is the one that calls both people to greater. Honesty and presence. The truth about obsession, especially the kind that grips a man's mind when you're not around, is that it's rarely about physicality alone. It's psychological. It's emotional. And most importantly, it's energetic. A man doesn't become obsessed with a woman because she's the most beautiful in the room. He becomes obsessed because of how he feels about himself when he's around her. That's the hidden power most people overlook. Physical attraction fades, but the way you make someone feel about their own identity, that lingers, burns, and grows roots in the subconscious. Carl Jung would call this an activation of the archetypal feminine energy, the anima in his psyche that yearns to be seen, accepted, and integrated. When a woman embodies grace, depth, and emotional resonance, she doesn't just represent herself. She becomes a mirror through which a man sees parts of himself he's never met before. That mirror becomes addictive. Let's break that down. When a man is with you, his nervous system records micro-impressions, the sound of your voice, the emotional safety in your presence, the rhythm of your breathing. Later, when he's alone, those impressions echo. That echo is the emotional imprint. If you've ever had someone cross your mind without reason, you're cooking, working, and suddenly they appear in your thoughts, that's not random. That's energetic residue. It happens when two people share a field of emotion intense enough to be recorded by the subconscious. The secret: slow down emotional moments. When you're laughing with him, pause between words. When he touches your hand, don't rush to move away. Let silence exist. These micro-pauses amplify emotional depth. His subconscious links your presence with meaning, with heightened feeling, with warmth, and he'll crave that resonance again and again. Try this. Next time you're in a moment of connection, don't fill the silence. Just be. Let him feel what stillness with you feels like. Watch what happens later. Vulnerability is one of the most magnetic feminine traits, but only when it's selective. If you spill your soul too soon, it overwhelms him. If you show none, he never feels safe. The sweet spot is what Jung called conscious vulnerability, the ability to open your emotional world with discernment and awareness. A man becomes sexually obsessed not just with your body, but with your emotional landscape. When he senses there are hidden layers to you, when your openness is rare and intentional. That intentionality gives meaning to every reveal. When you say something like, "I don't tell people this often, but," it signals privilege. It tells him, "You earned this." That's dopamine. That's exclusivity. That's emotional seduction. Not in a manipulative sense, but in the sense that he feels chosen. And being chosen by a high-value woman is every man's hidden desire. In Jungian terms, every psyche contains both masculine and feminine energy. Masculine energy is direction, logic, and control. Feminine energy is flow, intuition, and receptivity. When you constantly chase, text first, plan everything, and try to steer connection, you collapse polarity. You mirror his energy instead of balancing it. But when you return to flow, to receptivity, you create polarity again. It's not about being passive. It's about allow him to lead a little. Allow yourself to respond rather than initiate sometimes. This rhythm of polarity, give and receive, speak and listen, appear and retreat, is the heartbeat of attraction. If you always move forward, there's no contrast. If you always retreat, there's no intimacy. The dance is in alternation. Experiment with rhythm. After a deep night of connection, let the next day be quiet. Let him reach. Let him feel the absence. That absence is oxygen for desire. Here's one of the most misunderstood truths in psychology. Men fall hardest for women they can never fully figure out. That doesn't mean being confusing or withholding for the sake of it. It means you have an inner life, passions, thoughts, desires, that don't revolve around him. Jung would call this individuation, the process of becoming a whole independent self. When a man senses that you are complete without him, paradoxically, he becomes more drawn to you. You awaken his instinct to earn your focus, to prove his worth in your orbit. This psychological tension fuels obsession because it mirrors the mythic chase between archetypal masculine and feminine forces. The knight seeking the queen, not the servant chasing the peasant. So when you're tempted to make yourself more accessible, pause. Let him come to you. Let him wonder what you're doing, what you're feeling, what you're dreaming about. Wonder is erotic fuel. Journal about what gives you pleasure and fulfillment, not what would please him. Then live that truth. The more you inhabit your own joy, the more irresistible you become. Most women think sexual obsession comes from physical availability. In truth, it comes from energetic sexuality, the subtle charge that lingers even when you're not touching. You can cultivate this by being more connected to your senses. Feel textures, savor food, move your body to music. When you live sensually, you emit a charge. People feel it without knowing why. Its presence turned magnetic. Men are instinctively drawn to women who are comfortable in their skin. That confidence is rare, and it communicates abundance, not neediness. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're inviting them to experience the world you already enjoy. That difference shifts the dynamic. Instead of chasing, you radiate. Instead of performing, you embody. And men can't resist embodiment because it reminds them of what they secretly long for, to feel alive. Carl Jung's model helps explain why some women are unforgettable. He identified key feminine archetypes that trigger deep emotional responses in men. The lover, sensual, present, emotionally available, confident in her body. The queen, self-respecting, commanding, values herself and her boundaries. The mystic, deep, intuitive, reflective, awakens a man's spiritual hunger. The mother, nurturing, grounding, comforting, offers emotional safety. Most women live one archetype unconsciously, but when you integrate several, you become multifaceted, unpredictable. He never knows which side of you he'll meet. That's psychological depth. That's mystery. That's obsession. It's the woman who can be nurturing and unattainable, playful and wise, loving and sovereign, who becomes unforgettable. She awakens every archetype in his psyche. He doesn't just want her body. He wants to understand her essence. Reflect, it's which archetype do you express most often? Which one feels underdeveloped? Bring balance, and you'll see how energy shifts in your interactions. Most people overtalk their way out of intrigue. Silence is underrated. It's one of the most powerful erotic tools. When you sit comfortably in silence with someone, you send a signal of self-assurance. You're not filling space to earn approval. You're letting energy speak. That silence draws him in. He begins to project thoughts, fantasies, curiosity. The mind abhors a vacuum, and in that vacuum, desire grows. So the next time you feel the urge to explain or justify, pause, look, smile, let your eyes communicate. What words can't. That subtle confidence plants seeds that words never could. One of Jung's most profound teachings was that attachment breeds suffering, but connection breeds life. To make a man truly obsessed, you must detach from the outcome without detaching from the connection. When you're obsessed with his obsession, he feels it. It reverses polarity. But when you're free, when you could take or leave his attention because you already have your own center, that freedom intoxicates him. Men are